All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm gonna keep working on this thing. My plan for this video is to get the thing fired. I'm gonna try and get a bunch done. I realized the last video I talked a lot, did a lot of explaining. I wanna try and do more of this video and kind of get a lot more done. That being said, I have picked up a few more things. A couple more parts and whatnot for this thing. So this is one of them. It's a adapter for the linkage, for the throttle linkage. So it'll sit there. There's springs that sit on the front here and we'll pull it back. The old one, this is the old one. It looked like absolute garbage, so that's coming off. As well as I have a new throttle cable. Should work a lot better. And I did pick up some weather stripping. This is a little bit different, but I kind of wanted to get this stuff sorted out too, because one of the first video I think I made, I took a bunch of the old stuff off, and it's just gonna rattle this thing like crazy when I'm driving it here this spring. So I actually picked this stuff up. I was looking on a couple different sites and stuff for like site specific for the truck, and realized that I could probably find some generic stuff. So this stuff is a generic weather stripping off of Amazon. I think I got 30 feet of it. And yeah, so there's quite a bit there. I think it was like 30 bucks or something. So I'm gonna try and fit it in there and see how it fits, and kind of maybe get it done first so I can have the door shut and have it like kind of conform to the door the way it's supposed to be. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, that didn't go too bad. Although I just looked now and I only did 20 feet of that stuff, which it looks like maybe got about 5-6-ish feet left. So if you're doing this on your D150s or whatever, it's gonna take a little more than that. So that's all right. I can order some more of that, which is no big issue. I just wanted to kind of know beforehand. And then that way I can order some for it's not a big rush for it right now, but anyway, that's good. I'm gonna probably have to adjust the door striker, because now when I go to shut this thing, it doesn't quite shut all the way. Usually this door will latch all the way, so gonna have to probably make some slight adjustments to that, just because it sits a little nicer. Now it should, man, this thing should be pretty stinking quiet now driving it. Like it's with this kill mat and having it actually sealed up properly should be pretty nice. So I'm pretty pumped about that. But. Okay, so I got the valve covers on. I pulled the old sender out. This is it here. It's kind of like the little T. This was on there. Pretty sure it was never hooked up, at least since I've had the truck, which is kind of sketchy. But I'm going to most likely end up reusing this or something similar. I'm not sure yet. Some of this truck is going to end up having electrical senders, and some is going to be manual, just because I'm not going to probably buy a whole new set of gauges. I have perfectly good autometer ones back there, and I think I'm just going to try and make them work. There's a few other, especially coolant wise. This is the front coolant sensor there. I can put a manual one back in here. Oil pressures, somewhat of the similar type of thing. I actually don't know if I actually need an electrical connection to the oil pressure for this stuff. I looked on the paperwork for the Phytech, and it doesn't appear to have anything for the oil pressure on there. So it should just be the manual feed to the gauge. Either way, if I reuse this or whichever, that guy sat in here like this, I'll where this bolt is sitting, I'll actually use that as the oil feed for the turbo when I do it, which is kind of handy because it's pointing up and in a good spot. So that'll come up from back there and run up. Most likely we'll have the turbo kind of sit. Most of the other trucks that I've seen done this way, or Mopar products and that kind of thing, I think just the way it's going to work is that the turbo will sit up here. So I might kind of it's kind of a long route. I might have to kind of run it through the valley or figure out some of the good way to run that, but get it ran up here and should have pretty good oil pressure based off of that. Should be the same as the gauge is showing. So yeah, so that's that. I do have to run and get a few other things for from town, and then I'll keep going. I had Mom come over and we took that panel off. So now the plan with that is I'll weld some of that. It's kind of like 1-inch stock or whatever on the back side, and then I can mount my MSD box, the not the fuse block necessarily, but the fuel injection fuse block. The coil will go back inside there, a couple things like that. So that'll get welded up. I'll take that over to Jesse's place and get it welded, and then I can stuff that back on and get that stuff going. So yeah. All right, so I did a little bit off camera here. I pulled that panel off and re-welded put those bolts in and welded those up. That way I didn't have to have another person here to hold it for me. And then while I was at that, I mounted my boxes, or the box and the coil. So yeah, I just took that 1-inch bar or whatever and just bent it, slid it out so I could put in behind here, I could put my nuts and stuff on there, and that way it's not poking through to the other side. So that came out really, really quite nice actually. At the end there, I was kind of half wondering if I should just mount the coil out on the other side, but because I'm doing everything, trying to make it a little more clean, I figured I'd just leave it there. So now what I'm going to do next here is I will mount this guy. Will sit about there. I just have a little bracket I made that will sit in like that and hold that guy, and then it's all going to be kind of tucked up here to some degree, so that's going to be nice. So I'm going to continue with that, get that stuff wired or ran through. Then whatever needs to be ran from the fuel injection. I did get some new bolts and stuff now for the fuel injection, so I'm going to get it bolted down with the gasket and everything. And then all this wiring can run into there as well. And obviously there's the sensors and stuff I can go to out here too. But so I'll get that handled, and then I'll move on to the next. I made a little list now, so I'm not kind of just winging it. I'm going to try and kind of get everything done. And yeah, my plan is still to try and get this thing running for this days off. So we'll see how that goes. But okay, that's with it bolted on. The only thing I'm not super impressed about is, and I didn't really look at super close, was that some of these wiring goes out the front. Like this one, it kind of makes sense to have your temperature sender there. I hooked up some of these other ones that come out. This is the main fuse block and the wire, like main power and stuff. This one, I can't remember what this one's for yet. And then there's another small one here, I think for just the inputs, I think for the computer. But I kind of wish they went out the back, because it would make it look a little bit cleaner. Out the back we have the O2 sensor, and the handheld wiring and stuff goes out the back. So hopefully I can kind of get this stuff tucked in so it doesn't look so cluttered up here. But anyways, so I finally got this mounted in here kind of how I wanted to. I had to modify my bracket a little bit, but so that's kind of everything that's going to be sitting in there. I just went off one of the studs up here. It's kind of dark in there, but off one of there. And then I realized that I had this little fuse block for the fuel injection, and I kind of figured, I wondered if I should put more of these on here, but I didn't really have the any more of that stock. So I just made a little piece off the side of this bracket I'd already made here, and then bolted this guy here. So it's pretty sturdy. And my concern with having this stuff over here was that you weren't going to be able to get to the fuses. But I mean, obviously with the dash in, it's going to be a lot tighter. But worst case, if we pull the glove compartment out, you should be able to get to all that stuff too. So that's actually turned out quite nice. I'm pretty happy with that. So Now I'm going to be running in most of the wiring from the fuel injection will be running through, and I think into here. There is one harness I didn't have to use because I'm not using nitrous, but that's kind of nice. And then I can start kind of mounting everything. I did just buy a bunch more parts. So I got a new aluminum rad coming. I have a fan and shroud and stuff coming as well, and a new water pump. So when I go to do, I was gonna modify those studs on there. I'm gonna end up just doing that to the new one, and it'll look a lot nicer and stuff. So what I'm gonna probably try and focus on today is getting all this stuff off and kind of out of the way. It'll just give me a little more room. And then while I'm doing that too and getting the fuel injection stuff going, I think I might pull the headers off and fit them, turn them around and try and kind of see what I'm working with fitment that way. Because for one, I was going to hook up my O2 sensor, and if I'm not going to be having the exhaust go down that way, it'd be kind of nice to just have to do it one time. So I think I'm gonna try and kind of work on doing that stuff and getting some of this wiring cleaned up and brought in there. And then hopefully when I get some of these parts too, I can kind of get that stuff sorted out, but should make this look a lot better. So. Okay, so this is what I came up with. It's not great, but it's what I could do with the wiring coming out the front. So just kind of tucked it all, put a P-clamp around the backside, and then basically to try and hide this guy, I went underneath through the gap here. And I mean, you're gonna see it there a little bit, but I'm hoping that with the linkage and everything hooked up, it's not gonna be super noticeable. But anyway, that's what I could do with that. So I'm all right with that. I think it looks not too bad. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so I did a couple more things off camera here. I just test fitted this air hat that I was gonna, or carb hat that I was gonna put in there. It's gonna obviously point to this direction, but I was kind of messing with the throttle cable. So what I found with these, and I don't know if anybody else is doing anything like this, but what I found is that the springs that come with this this guy here, this bracket, they're pretty, like they're fairly long or whatever, but they're like quite strong. So I was kind of having an issue with trying to get it to cycle the whole way. So, and there is pretty good springs actually on this throttle body already. So I think I'm just going to run it without springs on here unless I find an issue with it. So that's kind of what I found there. I pulled the grill and stuff out because then that way I have an intercooler coming here in the next day or two. So then I can kind of fit it in there, and then I have a new rad coming, so that then I can kind of get everything in place there as well before I get, then I can kind of cut some holes if need be type of thing or wherever. But yeah, so I've made a little bit of progress, did a little bit more wiring inside the cab. So just kind of hooking up like the MSD boxes and stuff and just sorting through everything. I'm getting pretty close to where I can probably put the dash in and then start running all of this wiring into the gauges and the ignition and all that stuff. Now, one thing I was kind of curious about is I thought I had a carpet for this truck. I don't know where it is. So I was over at Dad's. I got Dad's car over here. We were out for a cruise yesterday. So he had this carpet. I think it's out of possibly a Charger. But the front and rear section, and they were used, so they're not in like super good condition or anything. But I figured I could clean them up and potentially put them in. It's not going to fit 100% obviously, but I figured if I get this for the most front section, and then it looks like the split will be right where the seats are at, kind of thing. So I think I can make it work for now until I get another carpet or something for it. But I figured I'd try this because they were free, so figured I'd try that out. But anyways, and then yeah, so kind of waiting on a bunch of parts. I was planning on having this thing running on this video, but because I'm waiting on parts and I'm going back to work here right away, I probably won't be able to. So that kind of sucks, but whatever. At least I'm getting some good parts for this thing now. So that should be pretty nice to get a lot more stuff done. I wasn't really planning on putting a rad or water pump or any of those parts. I just actually, Holly had a really good sale on, so I decided that that was probably the way to go. But yeah. So that's not too bad. I would say that the kind of worst spots are it gets narrow towards the front, so you got a little bit of a gap there. But I can probably make this work, and I have the sill plates that will hold it down in here, so I can kind of stretch it possibly and have it sit right. This is all going to be kind of covered with the cover that goes over top of that, so that should be okay. I might have cut it a little excess, or actually that cut was already there, but anyways, and then the back is a little bit wavy, but again, all of this is going to be pretty much covered with seat. So I did kind of slid in the back to have it sit in the corner a little bit nicer, but I don't know, that'll work for me. I think it's not perfect by any means, but it'll work. And like I said, it's free and that's the right price. So, but yeah, that should be all right. So now at least if I can kind of access all these wires a little easier and stuff. And all right, so a little update. Put the new water pump in, cut off the tubes here and threaded them and plugged those off because I'm not using those. So and I put the alternator and stuff back on. Looks a little better. Now I bought this rad as well. These are Frostbite brand. It's really well made, quite nice. It's for a GTO. I can't remember which year, but it was very similar. The only thing is it's a little bit shorter than the Dodge one, but I think it'll work okay. These are just the factory mounts off of the other one, and so I just opened these up a little bit, cut these off, and opened them a little bit to kind of fit around. And then I might find a way to possibly fasten these arms. I kind of rebent these arms a little bit, but they're quite light, so it was pretty easy to do. So I'm kind of working on that. This is the fan shroud I got, also a Frostbite brand one. Didn't really look when I bought it, and it's a little bit different size, so I'm gonna have to kind of do some trimming on it. This is the fan that came with it, so it's a 16-inch. And that should work all right. There's the intercooler I'm going to use. That one's just off Amazon. It had good reviews and stuff, so I think it should be okay for the boost level I'm running. I have an coolant expansion tank. I got new plugs, new wires, oil cooler, which I'm planning to try and use with the transmission. I think should work. Worst case, I'll just use the rad ports if this isn't cooling good enough, and then a catch can as well that I'll put on there. So yeah, kind of exciting. So I'm gonna kind of pull some of this stuff apart. The other thing I think I'm gonna do here is, just before I get too far in putting everything in, is I think I'm gonna try and just spray the engine bay, just because this brown looks like crap and it's dirty and everything, and I think it's kind of bringing down the look of the engine bay quite a bit. So what I'm planning to do is just basically bundle up all the wiring and stuff and just kind of put it over the engine, get some plastic, and I'm just going to fog it. I'm not going to go crazy, get it really, really nice by any means yet, because in possibly next year or something, I think I'm gonna respray the truck anyways. So I'll have the body mostly off of it because I'm kind of sick of it being multicolored. So it's going to get sprayed anyway. I have a box that came from the States that's rust free. So that's going to be good. I'm going to put that on this year. So I'm going to start, I kind of already started. I took the window doors out, or the headlight doors out, and I'm going to pull the grill off, and that's probably okay anyway, because then I can kind of, a little more room to kind of fit that intercooler and rad and stuff in there. So I'm going to do that as well and kind of try and prep for that just to get it looking a little bit better for this year. So that's kind of my plan. All right, so I had a couple buddies come over and give me a hand, so I didn't really have time to film a little bit of what I've been doing here, but we got some good headway going. So this is kind of what it looks like now here. We got that engine bay looks quite a bit better than it did. So I'm quite happy with the way it's a little dirty now because I've been kind of crawling around it a little bit, but there's still a couple changes I think I'm going to do, but that's fine. We fit these these headers around, and they fit real nice. The only spot we had to cut out a little bit off the frame, just kind of notch it out a little bit there, but that's pretty much it. And yeah, this side, I was quite worried that we were going to hit on the alternator and on the power steering, and we're looking good on both of them. So we welded V-bands onto the ends of the headers, cut off the old flanges, and put those on. We'll be getting the turbo sitting right in here. We need some more pipe, so we're kind of at a little bit of a standstill till tomorrow, but yeah, it's coming together pretty good. So that's super cool. I did end up kind of reshaping these. Reshaping the tabs on here. So I just basically kind of glued them down so that they'd stay on the rad there. So I'm gonna let that sit kind of overnight, and then I did have to trim the fan slightly. Just because it was a little bit bigger. I didn't really do super good measurements on it to make sure that fan fit on the rad, but anyways, it does now, so I think we're okay. We decided that I'm not going to run the shroud for right now. We're going to see how it works with just the fan on it. And if it ends up working all right, then that's great. If it seems like it's getting a little hot, needs to be directed, I'll probably try and modify that one to make it work and get that going. But anyway, we made quite a bit more headway than I kind of was anticipating. So I'm pretty pumped about that. But yeah, I'm getting pretty excited about this thing now.